got the engine on the hoist. Now we'll take this engine stand off. Should be, but jack it up a little more. There we go. And then we can mate up the transmission to the engine to get ready to install on the car. With the engine stand removed, we can clearly see the rear main seal, and this would be a great opportunity to replace it, but actually I don't see any issues here. No leaks, no issues, so we're gonna let it be. Hey, one interesting fact about flywheel bolts, this one on my left or your right is the one for my automatic transmission. This is the one that came with the kit from NPS Auto Salvage for the manual transmission. Keep that in mind if you're gonna make it switch from auto to manual. You need longer bolts for flywheel because it's a thicker flywheel. Before we put the flywheel on, we got to put this protection plate that came with our kit from NPS Auto Salvage. So I cleaned it up and painted it because it was pretty rough. Slide it on this boss right here. Makes it easier to go on now instead of when you put the flywheel on, because you can't get past that boss. And now we got those roughly tight with the normal ratchet. We're going to torque these to 60 foot-pounds. There we go, all torqued up. Next up's the clutch, and your kit from NPS Auto Salvage did come with a brand new McLeod clutch, and comes with a brand new throwout bearing, clutch plate, clutch tool, and this thing right here, which is our pilot bushing, not a pilot bearing. We're gonna put that in next. Yep, you heard correctly. This is a pilot bushing, not a pilot bearing. There are differences. The bushing is typically known to hold up more and harder driving, and being that this is a sports car that's used for racing, we're gonna go with the bearing and not a bushing, because the bushing, not the bearing, because the bearings tend to fail. So we'll set this in there with a little bit of grease and tap it in. Even when we know that this transmission has been rebuilt by Tranzilla, which is right here, Tranzilla, we're going to remove the pilot bearing, the throwout bearing, and replace it because it came with our kit. So we got to pop off the release arm. We're going to place this throwout bearing, just slides right out, noting that the clips are inside the groove. To check it, wiggle it, see there's some play. A little bit. The new one should have none. It doesn't. I'm going to grease the ball that it mounts to, and then we'll also grease the contact surfaces in here. Reinstall it. Next up is installing the clutch and the clutch pressure plate. We're going to clean the surface, make sure we don't have any grease on it. Also make sure you clean the pressure plate, because I just did that and you can see there's clearly some material on there. You want to get it clean. I'm using acetone as usual, which is probably the world's best degreaser. I think it smells good. Most people don't. So now we'll put the disc on with the alignment tool and then the pressure plate. You may notice your disc comes with two directions, right? And it's not written on here which way is toward the flywheel. The basket side, which is the side that's a little bit thicker, goes toward the transmission. Use our alignment tool. One thing I want to do before I torque these is go ahead and put some red Loctite on them. And then what I'm doing is using the star pattern. Got the drill set to about a 5. And just kind of slowly work these onto the plate. Now we'll torque them to 24 foot-pounds. Same pattern. There we go. Now we're going to mount the transmission to the engine. The way I had the engine, it was kind of angled down, so it was in a bind. So I had to, it's a good thing I had this adjustable thing on there. I had to adjust the engine up a little bit so it's set more even. Because this part was attaching, but it wasn't, it was sticking way on the bottom. So now we got it nice and snug. One thing you need to be aware of too is that there are two different size bolts that bolt it together. And I did have a long one on there. These long ones go on the side here, so you just need to be aware of that. Also, we'll do a thread locker here, and we'll torque these down once we get them all installed. Now we got to raise it up to get the ones underneath it. With it up there, easy to torque it. These torque to 28 to 38 foot-pounds. I'm gonna go with 33. On this right side, before you put the engine in here, there's a 5/16 hole. You need to grind that off because that's where the engine ground will go. Time to do some sketchy stuff since my helper's not here. Should be able to get it close, pick it up over, and walk it in somehow. Came out this way, but the donor should go back in. Clearly not a task to do by yourself, but we got it in. Had to take the driver's side header off to get it to squeeze in here. In all fairness, the book does say to remove both headers to make it easier, but I didn't listen. I had to do it with it halfway in the air. But we got it in. We're going to reinstall this as well as get the transmission support and hold it up. Next up, we're going to install the transmission mount, and then the engine and transmission will be installed. Before we finish connecting the transmission, I noticed something. The engine is sitting really low on this mount. It's kind of hard to see with the darkness, but also put a little level on there. And if you can see back there, the engine is leaning to one side. And then the next thing is my underdrive pulley for my harmonic balancer is just like, there's like hardly any room. It's like right there on the cross member. So that leads me to, and this side, the mount's pretty high. So it's sitting sideways and it's too low. So we're gonna hook it back up to the shop crane, raise it up, and there's actually several fender wires provided with your kit to shim it up on either side to get that balancer off the cross member and to level it out. A lot of words, but basically we need to raise the engine a little bit. Tough to video all that, but we got it shimmed up on this side. We got clearance on our balancer and it's nice and level. So the last piece is to bolt up the transmission, which we've done. It's just really difficult to film, but you got these 1/2 inch, 1 1/4 inch bolts that you bolt for both the A-frame. The bolts here with socket with a Allen head, then back here, so we're all tight. Last piece is to connect this transmission to that rear end. I'll show you how we do that. Obviously, the wheelbase for 04 Mustang GT is much longer than this Cobra, so you got to have this shortened. Now you can take it to a machine shop and have them, because it's really not a do-it-yourself unless you got the strength. And there you go, shortened, powder-coated, ready to go, specifically for my transmission and rear end. Not really. Ordered this from Breeze Automotive. I'll put a link in the bottom of the video, but he can get it in about a month. I ordered this almost exactly a month ago. It comes from Denny's drive shafts. They're already shortened, and they got quite the warranty and very much ready to handle the power that this new engine and transmission is going to put out. So let's get this installed and wrap up this episode. All right, First up, we'll slip the yoke end. Nothing real special about this other than getting to it. 4 bolts, 12 millimeter, bolt up in star pattern with Loctite. That's the drivetrain installed, engine, transmission, and our shortened drive shaft from Breeze Automotive. Next is connecting all the wiring, the fuel lines, all the stuff to make it run. See you on that episode.
Also, tell us how you feel after missing that terribly simple shot.
Simple? I want to see you do that, bro.
Can you go now?
You tap. Oh, I can go again. You tap.
We're wasting our time.
How does that feel?
Redemption.
How's that feel?